Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
It's the Full Melt Show.
Police say they have confiscated marijuana cash and other evidence from a number of marijuana dispensaries in Kent County.
The Metropolitan Enforcement Team and Kent County deputies are conducting the raids.
WZCM 13's Phil Dawson is here now with more on where they've been and, Phil, what they've done.
Well, we aren't sure what crime they are investigating, but we know for sure police raided dispensaries on West River Drive and Plainfield Avenue this evening. It's not known how many other dispensaries were hit by Kent County deputies and the Metropolitan Drug Enforcement Team, but we know there were more. And detectives say some or all of these marijuana operations may be affiliated or owned by the same individuals.
It kind of shocked me. I drove by and I saw all the cars, 3 squad cars, and I was like, wow, they're already getting raided. I'm Clayton Steffes. My mom uses medical marijuana as her kind of her pain reliever. I know she comes over here because it's nice, it's convenient, it's right around the corner from my house.
Does anybody care to make a statement? Nobody from TPC, the Provision Center, stopped to discuss the raid on their marijuana dispensary. Neighbors on West River Drive say it's only been operating for a month or two.
Maybe a month and a half or maybe 2 months now. I'm Audrey Buchema. I'm at Jude's Barbershop on West River Drive. We kind of joked about it. We would just tell people if you needed to get your pot, you go over there next door.
A man who answered the door here at TPC said he didn't want to speak on camera, but he confirmed that the police took all of their marijuana buds. There were no plants here, just buds. They also took cash, but he says no one was arrested.
I just don't think there's a reason for it. Why do you need to raid it?
Police from the Metropolitan Drug Enforcement Agency also raided a business on Plainfield Avenue and possibly other locations. Tonight, commanders did not say what crimes or illegal activity they are investigating at the marijuana dispensaries. They say more information about the operation may be released today.
Are you high? What are you talking about?
This is the Full Melt.
The Full Melt Show. A marijuana discussion about news, culture, politics, and lifestyle. FullMelt.com. Toll free. 844-420-TALK. 844-420-TALK.
Ah, yes. Ah, yes. Ah, yes. Shine thee some light, and the truth shall be told. That's what I have to say today. That's what the sunshine laws in Florida were created about. It shines some light and it gets rid of all vile bacteria, doesn't it? It dries up the sloppy wetness of darkness and corruption. And it leaves in there for plain open view for God and everybody to see what in the world is going on with your government. And let me just tell you, folks, let me bear witness to you now that there is a lot going on inside your government. So this, I would admonish you, is not the time. I repeat in capital letters, not the time to feel disenfranchised from the voting or electoral process. Now's the time where you stand up for what you believe in, despite the fact I know you think your vote doesn't count. And you go out there and you do your civic duty and speak your mind, no matter what it is, one way or the other. You've got that coming up this year. Because if you don't do it, somebody's going to do it in your stead. Don't lay around and be lazy about what happens in the political cycle, because it all lies in your hands ultimately. There are some people that would say, oh, it doesn't really matter. It's all the same big giant corporation running both parties, and you're right. It doesn't mean, hey, look, both of these parties, despite the way that they talk, are kind of being driven by the same capital machinery, aren't they? I mean, that's part of the corruption in place. And it's not just at our federal level, but it's also at the state level. In many, many of the states. I would venture to say that corruption has wormed its way in to all of the states. Just going to go out on a limb there and stick my neck out, make that statement. because it's true. And therein lies the evidence when you look at the news today. Some of the news was just like what you heard right there at the front of the show. Police shutting down the Kent County medical marijuana dispensaries at the behest of the Kent County prosecutor. I mean, that's what's going on. They're really not. I mean, did you hear the people in the piece? Oh, I'm surprised they opened over there. We live right next door, and we always tell people if you need your medical marijuana, go right over there. Been open for a couple months. Snapped shut in the darkness of night. I don't know if any charges have been levied. I'm sure that's coming. But that's not the bigger issue. See, the bigger issue is they get political credit for shutting down the pot shops, the illegal pot shops, and then they also get to take that money and that cannabis. I would not be surprised at some point in the game if you didn't see police seizing cannabis to resell on the commercial market where it's legal so that they could get the money from it. I would not put that past police. I just wouldn't. In fact, I might even make the prediction now that you'll see that request made sometime in the coming 12 months. I don't know why I have that feeling, but I do. It just goes in line. I mean, you connect the dots. It all connects back to the money. The whole entire prohibition issue connects back to the money. It doesn't connect back to social public safety or, health or welfare. It connects back to sucking dollars out of your pocket and having control. That's what it boils down to. If you evaporate all the crap at the top of cannabis prohibition, that's what's left at the bottom. That's the bubbly, thick goo remaining after you evaporate everything else away. And so there's more proof in the pudding. And I don't even know if I have time to do it in this segment. There's two other things that are connected to this that I just have to tell you about because they're like joined at the hip. So you got the West Michigan police closing down and raiding the dispensaries. And then you've got also this story that came out today. I saw it in High Times Magazine. I'll just give you the gist of it. This, according to hightimes.com, published, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, let me just look at the published date. It says Thursday, November 19th. That is today by Mike Adams. Michigan sheriffs spend medical marijuana funds on iPads, tasers, and new trucks. So while they're busy raiding these cannabis shops and just seeding the money into their coffers, then what they're doing is they're bolstering their 80% of whatever they raid, whatever they take out of there with cash value attached. If they go through civil asset forfeiture proceedings, which they generally do, it is the sweet spot. It is the red target in the center of that bullseye. The money. It's always about the money. So in addition to that, the same program that allows for the medical marijuana that they are raiding at that shop, it doesn't allow the shop. The same program that allows for the medical marijuana program to get to the sick patients in West Michigan because they are out there and don't have access to caregivers. I saw this, another post, another article earlier talking about how, I think it was Fox 17 Online, the same people that said the Michigan State Police are falsifying data because the Kent County prosecutor, Kent Steckler, who happens to be the head of the Michigan Prosecutors Association, who lobbies heavily against marijuana, happens to be the one that is chosen by the police to be their spokesperson. I think their consultant, right? It's their consultant. And so he's consulted with them and said, look, when you test the marijuana, make sure that, because right now you're putting on their marijuana source, marijuana plants, whatever. They want you, when you say THC source marijuana plants. If you don't say THC source marijuana plants, then there's another charge they could levy for synthetic THC. And there's no evidence in their testing that this is synthetic THC. In fact, if you tested it further and saw the other cannabinoid profiles, you would know that this was an extract from the whole plant and not a synthetic brand of THC, or in other words, a manufactured THC in a laboratory. None of that has gone on here anywhere. Nobody's got the money or the expense or the contraptions, equipment, all this kind of stuff, the overhead, to produce synthetic THC in a laboratory when you can grow it in the back room. But since they're, so I'm saying this, Michigan State Police are falsifying the data by saying origin unknown. When they've seen the other cannabinoid profile, they know that this is factually, because they've never seen a synthetic THC laboratory busted in Michigan, ever. So would they say origin unknown? Well, so the prosecutor can say, well, they don't know. It's THC. It's a Schedule 1. This is probably synthetic. And then they can charge you with a felony instead of a misdemeanor. It's all crazy. So in the midst of all this going on in the background, law enforcement busy concocting loopholes to punish registered patients for possession of marijuana. A new report finds that local sheriff's offices are also taking advantage of funds generated from the state's medical marijuana program in order to purchase items like iPads, Tasers, and new vehicles. According to a report from the Compassion Chronicles, that's run by Rick Thompson here in Michigan, a number of Michigan sheriffs have been using money from the Michigan Medical Marijuana Fund to make questionable purchases. The website points out that when Governor Rick Snyder signed House Bill 5313 last year, the fund, which is supported by money paid in by participating patients and caregivers, was intended to be used by local law enforcement for the operation and oversight of the Michigan Medical Marijuana Program. Operation and oversight grants are for education, communication, and enforcement of the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, quote unquote. However, out of the $3 million made available to local sheriffs, only around $167,000 was distributed, with just over $116,000 reportedly spent. And it seems that out of Michigan's 83 counties, only 4 sheriff's offices applied for grants. And while all of them were approved, not all of the money was spent as it was originally intended. In Macomb County, where the local sheriff's department received more than $63,000, the report shows that officers did not have the opportunity to attend training. But the department did manage to purchase a 2015 Dodge Durango and a trailer to assist them, quote unquote, in investigating participants in the medical marijuana program. Really, investigating. Not administering, not overseeing, but investigating. More on this, much, much more to come here on The Full Melt Show. Don't go away.
You're getting the full melt.
What's up with these things, Victor?
We decided to give ourselves stickers for each feature we release. We read about 10,000 suggestions a week to create features that, as traders, we'd want to use.
10,000 suggestions? Who reads all of those?
He does.
For all the confidence you need, TD Ameritrade, you got this.
It's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience, bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at canalock.com. Visit canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
Introducing Sacred Elements, a place for natural and alternative healing for the mind, body, and soul. Sacred Elements. It's one place, all solutions.
Registered, licensed, certified, ordained.
Sacred Elements.
Massage, hypnosis, Reiki.
Sacred Elements.
Raindrop, aroma and color therapy, body detox, ministry, life coaching, weight and nutrition counseling.
Sacred Elements. Next to the Sweet Leaf, 400 South Door Highway, Flint.
11 to 7 daily, closed Sunday.
Call 810-259-2570. It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Radio Show.
And you can find us here Monday through Friday from 7 until 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I almost got my switches crossed there. I don't know what's happening. Tell me. Listen, there's a whole bunch of stuff happening, and I just wanted to point out this stuff with the corruption and the police. Oh, there's more to this story because there's another story attached to this story. I got to finish this one first. Let me do that for you here now, shall I? So I just told you that while the department there in Macomb County, where the local sheriff's department received more than $63,000, the report shows that officers did not have the opportunity to attend training. They didn't have the opportunity, quote unquote, to attend training, but they did manage to purchase a 2015 Dodge Durango and a trailer to assist them in investigating participants in the medical marijuana program. Really? The Sanilac County Sheriff's Department, which collected nearly $19,000, spent their money on a trailer to haul their ATVs, dress clothing for public presentations, and other clothing needed perhaps to look fashionable while conducting raids. However, the report also indicates that almost $4,800 was spent on iPads and around $5,400 on Tasers. Other jurisdictions cashed in on the fund to pay their officers' wages. In Lapeer County, which was given over $36,000, the department spent 86% of it to pay salaries. The rest, while not documented in detail, was said to have gone toward equipment and evidence storage. Really what it went for is a pizza party, didn't it? That's what it went for. Not all of the 4 counties approved for grants. It's the office Christmas party. That's what it is. Not all of the 4 counties approved for grants avoided participation in educational programs designed to help them better understand the medical marijuana program. The St. Clair County Drug Task Force, quote, did attend a much-needed 3-day training in Lansing regarding medical marijuana grow operations, end quote. Yet the force still spent the majority, 81% of their allotted $48,917 on paying officers' salaries. While some of the departments mentioned using the funds for flyover missions to help them eradicate illegal marijuana operations, none of the money seems to have gone towards helicopters. So there you have what I would say is a complete misspending of monies that were clearly earmarked and labeled for the purpose, and I'll just quote it to you again. The purpose of the program, right there in the law, says for the operation and oversight of the Michigan Medical Marijuana Program. Operation and oversight grants, these are grants, are for education, communication, and enforcement of the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act. You tell me how all this clothing and how officers' salaries, the whole department, fit into that box. Tell me. Tell me how iPads and Tasers help you enforce the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, when most of you, by this report's very details, didn't even take the opportunity to attend state training. No, we want the iPads and the Tasers. Those are much, much more fun. It's a facepalm moment. Facepalm. I need a facepalm sound effect there. Facepalm. It is a facepalm moment. It's a shameful moment. Yet, here's the story attached. While all of that's going on the other hand, in Macomb County, the same county that I just reported on, one of them. Remember I told you they were the ones that used their money to buy the Tasers and the iPads and departmental salaries. But here in Macomb County, they're struggling with the same thing that every other sheriff's department across the nation is struggling with. The state police, crybabying. They're whining. This according to Fox 2 Detroit at fox2detroit.com. And you know what? Since this is a Charlie Langton piece, he's funny. I'm just going to go ahead and play it for you. It's going to make me hear a commercial. I know it is. It always does. Yeah.
Look, Mr. Bush.
Still the leader in in-depth breaking entertainment news.
It is very personal for me.
Hollywood's biggest stars in their own words.
I will never pick my wife up again.
At a film festival.
I will never.
Cultivating Hollywood relationships.
I'm going to give you a little Access Hollywood exclusive.
To bring you information you can trust.
Barbara Walters has nothing on you.
Access Hollywood is everywhere.
Weeknights at 6:30 on Fox 2.
There you go. Here he comes. Here comes the piece.
The clock is ticking. Macomb County now has less than a month to return a tank to the Defense Department. It's part of President Obama's plan to take away military-style equipment from police agencies across the country in the wake of the riots in Ferguson, Missouri.
But county leaders are pushing back, saying that executive order goes too far.
As Fox 2's Charlie Langton explains, they fear the change puts officers at risk.
It's asinine. They're just going to take this thing and they're going to send it to some kind of a junkyard.
This is an armored personnel carrier that was given to Macomb County in 2004 by the U.S. military in a program called 1033 to allow local law enforcement to use excess military equipment. But now they want it back.
Our officers need these things, where you got a barricaded gunman. Aside from terrorism, you've got other situations that are domestic related.
This is an M113, that's the military name, but don't make a mistake, it's not a tank. There are no weapons, it doesn't shoot anything, it's only used to transport cops and people. Now this weighs 10 tons. It holds about 8 people. The driver sits right in there, and then all of this is here for the personnel as well as their equipment. But under an executive order signed by the president, all law enforcement must give up these vehicles by December 7th. But the president says, though, that you guys don't need this military equipment because it makes you look bad.
Well, I don't think that's what's being said. I think what's being said is it's a knee-jerk reaction to people that are upset about some high-profile situations that have happened in law enforcement.
As in Ferguson, Missouri, when a police officer was acquitted in the fatal shooting of Michael Brown.
Because of a few officers that may have done things that are questionable, what they're going to do is they're going to take something away from the other hundreds of thousands of officers that are out there trying to be part of the solution.
Now, this armored personnel carrier is gone. That's a done deal. But Mark Hackle tells me that he is going to ask the county commission to try to get another one, but it could cost $300,000-400,000, maybe more. And Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard says he'll have to give up a similar vehicle. He's not happy. And Wayne County will lose its vehicle as well. So pick up the phone, call the president, and say, you're making a mistake on this.
It was a very demanding letter. They're coming December. They're coming to get it. I don't think my phone call to the President of the United States is going to stop this from happening.
In Clinton Township, Charlie Langton, Fox 2 News.
You know what, Mr. Hackle? You're damn right. It's not going to stop a frickin' thing. It's a done deal. Wah! You know, if you guys weren't out there, misrepresenting your own badges with forces against civilians that are unnecessary en masse, you wouldn't have the popular public opinion that got that equipment yanked back as military surplus. It deserves to be in the grinder more than in your hands, in my opinion. It does. It gives you a terrible reputation when you start whipping out military gear because the populace has risen up. Did you ever stop to think to address why the population is rising up? Did you ever stop to think about that? Maybe if you stopped shooting people in the back as they ran away, the populace wouldn't rise up when you made requests like this. They'd find your request reasonable. But they don't when you put a guy in handcuffs, a young black man in handcuffs who's having an altercation with his girlfriend, and you shoot him dead. I don't care what he was doing. The man had his hands cuffed behind his back. You can't shoot him dead and say you were in fear for your damn life. This is why you got your equipment yanked back. And you know what? This is how it works. If you're in a military barracks, one of the ways that they enforce upon you discipline is to get the popular consensus to put pressure on you. So what you're going to do is if you misbehave in the Army barracks in basic training, or I don't care, anytime you're serving together, if you're misbehaving, the commander is going to take that out likely on the entire troop. It won't be just you. And your sufferance from the rest of the troop will be greater than that if it was just dished out by the commanding officer. That's how they do that. And this is exactly what's going on. It's the same exact force in play here. You're suffering, Mr. Hackle, in your department, if you want to cry, baby, that this is the fault of some other popular things happening in different areas, high-profile cases. Bullshit. Baloney. You don't pee on my forehead and tell me it's raining. You deserve the same sufferance for your brothers across the nation abusing their badges. And until you put a stop to it, and I'm not going to say Macomb County, Mr. Hackle, is any better than Oakland, who's just as bad about this. Abusing power and authority. It's a routine thing. I've witnessed it. My own two eyes, I bear witness to abuse of authority. And it's not just been here in Oakland County. I can bear witness to that abuse in Lakewood, Ohio. I can give you plenty of example. I won't detail it here. If you ever want to know, I'll give you that detail. I've abused it I've seen it being abused in Cleveland, Ohio. Great stories I can tell you. Do I have time to tell any of them? I'll just give you a quick synopsis. Friend calls me up one night. He's a former roommate. He's drunk off his ass someplace in Cleveland. And he's asking me to give him a ride home. Rather than get behind the wheel, he's asked me. He's called me in the middle of the night. It must be 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And so I go and I pick up Chris, my friend, and I bring his drunk ass to his house out in Lakewood, which is an adjacent community to Cleveland. And I drop him off there, and I had been up working at the radio station there for hours. I had, barely any sleep. I was tired as a rock. And on my way back from dropping him off on the other side of Lakewood, I'm driving back, and I'm like, man, I'm driving all over the road, man. I'm worse than a drunk driver. I'm going to pull over here into a legal parking space and take a snooze before I make my way the rest of the way back. Tap, tap, tap goes the Lakewood Police Department a few minutes later on my window. What are you doing sleeping over here? Well, I explained to him the situation. He took my driver's license and my stuff back to his car, and he came back up and he told me, he said, look, we catch you sleeping in your car in Lakewood again, we're going to arrest you, and we're going to tow your car. And I looked at him square in the face, and I said, under whose authority? And he looked back at me like, what the hell did you just say to me? And I said, under whose authority? Am I not parked in a legal parking spot? Yes. Am I blocking traffic? No. Did I do something wrong? Is there something wrong with my vehicle? No. Did I break any laws? Sir, you can't sleep in your car on the road. And I'm like, would you rather me drive? And he said, he started to get tough with me. Started to pull the officer tough guy stuff. And I stopped him right there. And I said, look, officer, for your benefit and mine, I'm just going to go ahead and start up my car, if it's okay with you, and I'm going to drive 3 or 4 blocks that way into Cleveland proper, so that I am outside of your jurisdiction, and then I'm going to do the responsible thing, pull back over and go back to sleep. And if you ever threaten me to have my car towed because I was sleeping in my vehicle on the side of the road again, you're going to have a problem, because if you did tow my vehicle, you'd have a hard time explaining to the mayor why he's paying to have it returned to me. Because he had no law or basis on which to threaten me for sleeping in my car. None whatsoever. And I was doing the right thing on both occasions, taking home my drunk friend and then pulling over because I was too tired to drive. Those were the public safety correct things to do. He wanted to pull me over and harass me otherwise. I'll give you another quick example. Cleveland, circa 1997. Same roommate, same guy. He's working at a foo-foo restaurant. And he gets fired at the restaurant. He's got issues. He gets fired at the restaurant. The place was called La Pomme, I think. It was like a fancy French restaurant. They were big on wine. And so he got fired at the restaurant, and then he wanted to say, well, look, this restaurant's all got all kinds of health violations. They left the soup on the stairs and all the people stepping over it, and, they got stuff laying around in the kitchen. It's past their age. There's no dates. The place is a health trap. I'd never eat there. And so I'm going to go down and picket. And so he did. He got a sign. He made a picket sign. He went down. And he started picketing. And about half an hour later, He came running back up the stairs in tears. And he's like, "Oh, Stephen, they took my sign and they broke my sign and they told me if that I ever came back here with a picketing in front of their place that I can't do it, and if I ever do it again, that they're going to arrest me." And I said, "What?" So I called up the department. I called up the department's commander, and I told him, I said, "Look, this is what your officers did. I think they were incorrect." And he says, "You're right. They're totally incorrect." And I said, "I tell you what, as a show of support, I'm going to go with my friend with a set of picket signs myself, and I'm going to go back and picket with him. As long as I'm on the sidewalk and we're not blocking people going in, and we're peacefully protesting, we're allowed to do that, correct?" He says, "Yes." And I said, "Could you please make sure that the officers don't do that? He says, if my officers do that again, you call me, we'll correct that problem." So I went back down with him. Got out, went down there, started picketing. The owners called the police. The police came back. They arrested him immediately, put him in the back of the car, broke his sign, crunched it all up, and then warned me, "Look, if you don't you can't be here doing that. If you come back here again, I'm going to tell you the same thing we told your friend. We're going to arrest you just like your friend. He's going to jail now." And I said, "You won't tell me what to do out here on the sidewalk. I'm peacefully protesting, and I'm taking advantage of my civil rights. You have no say in my protest here. It's peaceful. Leave me alone." And I started marching again. And so he took my sign and put cuffs on me and stuffed me in the other side of the car. He got on the phone. You're talking through the plastic now. He got on the horn, and he's calling. I got 2 in custody. He's calling back to the jail to prep the jail for us to come for our arrival. And I said, and he's getting ready to put the car in gear. And I said, "Officer, just before you get the cart in front of the horse, why don't you go and talk to your commanding officer, because what you're doing here is illegal, and I've already confirmed with your officer, your commanding officer, that it is illegal. So you're going to have to let us go in embarrassment." And he stopped and he called back in and he closed the gate so I couldn't hear what he was saying. He got on the cell phone. He put the car back in park and he got back out of the car. He opened up the side door. His partner opened up the other side door. They pulled us both out of the car and undid the cuffs. And my friend was freaking out. He couldn't believe that he listened to me. He couldn't believe that I knew what I was talking to. I couldn't believe, "Oh, Stephen, I'm a squirrel in a cage. I'm going to jail." No, you were witness to police abusing their authority, and they do it routinely. I'm not afraid to engage with police because I know where the line is, and I know I don't cross the line. And I frequently watch them do it. I could give you examples in Royal Oak, Michigan, in Detroit, Michigan. I could give you examples in Lansing and in Miami, Florida, just from my own personal experience. Don't tell me police don't abuse their authority. It happens every day.
You're getting the full melt.
What's up with these things, Victor?
We decided to give ourselves stickers for each feature we release. We read about 10,000 suggestions a week to create features that, as traders, we'd want to use.
10,000 suggestions? Who reads all of those?
He does.
For all the confidence you need, TD Ameritrade, you got this.
At book club, they were asking me what you're doing now, Janice.
Blogging. Your blog is just pictures of you in a mirror.
It's called a fashion blog, Todd. Well, I've been helping people save money with Progressive's discounts. Flo, can you get Janice a job?
You should have stuck to softball. I was so much better at softball than Janice Dead.
Where's your wife, Todd?
Vacation.
Discounts like homeowners, multi-policy. I got a discount on this ham.
I've got the meat sweats. It's good ham, Diane.
Paperless discounts. Give it a rest, Flo.
Yeah, Flo, give it a rest.
We ask people to tell us something that happened in their past and something that might happen in their future. The good things were put on yellow magnets and the bad ones on blue. The results show the past was a pretty even mix of good and bad, yet the future was almost all good things. Now that you've seen the results of this experiment, what does it mean to you?
We all want to think about positive stuff.
Realistically, there will be downtimes.
It's great to think optimistically, but let's plan for whatever the future might bring.
Prudential, bring your challenges.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, "What are you smoking?" Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit petpain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. Petpain.com. CBD relief for your pets.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Radio show.
Hey, welcome back live to the PetPain.com studios in suburban Detroit, Michigan. On the program where we talk about cannabis, news, information, and lifestyle. Medical marijuana, hemp, you name it, we're on it. Got the pulse of the nation right here in the palm of my hand. I live, eat, and breathe the subject of marijuana. And, I don't do it because I suppose part of it I love to do, but, I could do this until I'm blue in the face and sick. I've done it many days in a row. I do this really for you. This is a labor of love. I'm not talking to myself here. I'm telling you what's going on around you. I'm just trying to point out what's happening. I take the time every day to immerse myself in this subject. Find out what's happening, what's changing, what's not changing, why it's changing, where it's changing, who's changing it, how much it costs to change. The change is happening. And we do this for you. It started out that I did this for me. Clearly. When I had an encounter with police, and police have always been my friend in my career. There are always people that I interviewed about some crime that actually did occur. And then when I became a medical marijuana patient, out of necessity, not out of desire, and the police found out about it, they became my instant enemy, like I was never their friend in the first place. Like I was now part of the them, and that not any longer part of the us. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that view. I didn't like them putting those goggles on while they looked at me. And it wasn't just the view, it was their actions. They tried raiding me. They did it without warrants. They did it on a couple of occasions. I had to fight back with a lawsuit. I got no satisfaction until I did. I had teeth in my veins that came from the butts of those cops. And I still do. They're hard to get out with floss. I had teeth in my veins. I had veins in my teeth. That's what I meant. I just played that back in my head. Wait a minute. Something went terribly wrong there. Did I say I'm a bit dyslexic? Does that count? Moving on. There's other stuff going on. So you got all this stuff happening with the police, right? And here's, I guess, when you look at how I think when people do this right, and you can argue about what's right and what's not when you're talking about legalizing cannabis. The way to do it, the way not to do it. I say any way that it gets done is the best way. Yeah, people will say that I'm a hypocrite for pointing out that issue 3 is not the best way. I was kind of only reflecting what I already knew was the popular sentiment, although it is mine, because it's probably the one exception to that rule. Especially if you're trying to run a campaign in an off-year election. How stupid can you be? Marijuana tax money flowing to Kitsap. This story out of Kitsapsun.com. Kitsap is a place, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is it Washington? Where is this? I don't know. Can't tell. I'm not familiar with Kitsap. No, see, now I got to look it up. I feel I can't tell you a story about something I'm unfamiliar with, and I'm unfamiliar with Kitsap. So let's just find out where Kitsap is. It has to be someplace in Washington or Oregon. It is in Kitsap County is in Washington. So my surmise would have been correct, but I couldn't have told you whether it was in Washington or Oregon. It would have been one of the two. That being the case, Dateline Port Orchard from Kitsapsun.com. Marijuana money is beginning to flow into Kitsap County coffers. At the direction of the legislature, the state is doling out a share of excise taxes charged on legal marijuana sales to local governments. Kitsap County is set to receive more than $98,000 in the 2016 fiscal year, which began July 1, according to a report published by the Liquor and Cannabis Board. Port Orchard will receive about $65,000. It's nothing to sneeze at, Port Orchard Mayor Tim Matthews said. Matthews opposed allowing recreational marijuana stores within city limits, but the city council voted to permit them. Matthews later joined dozens of Washington mayors in lobbying the state for a slice of marijuana excise taxes. If the city is going to have marijuana stores, quote, we should at least share the revenues, Matthews said. Lobbying by local governments paid off. Legislation passed into law this year revised the marijuana excise tax to a single 37% assessment charged when retailers sell marijuana products to consumers. It also instructed the state to distribute a portion of the tax revenue to local governments that have licensed marijuana stores within their borders. The state will distribute $6 million to local governments in fiscal year 2016, an amount that will increase in future years. Money distributed to local governments is coming from taxes collected in the previous fiscal year. As a result, Port Orchard, which had 3 marijuana shops licensed by the end of 2014, will receive a healthy allocation this fiscal year. Cities like Bainbridge Island and Bremerton, these are all suburban Seattle locations. These are all, if I'm not mistaken, according to the map, these are all places that are just west of the city past the bay. There's like a big inlet there. So some islands and some other, cross the bay territories. Cities like Bainbridge Island and Bremerton, which had their first marijuana stores licensed in June of 2015, will receive much smaller amounts. Poulsbo had a moratorium on recreational marijuana businesses, and it will receive no marijuana money. You see, when you start attaching the dollars, communities start to look again and say, you know what, our opposition to having that pot shop at that location is much smaller now that we see all the money we're missing out on. Follow the money. Funds allocated to local governments from marijuana excise taxes is earmarked for law enforcement. I'll say that again, earmarked for law enforcement, and will be funneled to police departments and sheriff's offices. Kitsap County Sheriff's Office Deputy Scott Wilson said money the county receives will be used to support narcotics investigations carried out by the Special Investigations Unit. Wilson said it's too early to draw any conclusions about the effect new marijuana laws have had on crime rates in Kitsap. Initiative 502, passed in 2012, allowed Washington residents older than 21 to possess less than 1 ounce of marijuana for personal use while creating a structure for regulated marijuana industry. Matthews said Port Orchard hasn't seen any uptick in crime that can be linked to the new marijuana businesses. He's still not excited about more stores opening in the city. It sends a bad message to youth, he said. Really. But the liquor stores you support don't send a bad message to youth. All the tobacco shops that you collect tax money for and spend on a routine. You're not embarrassed about what that might do to youth, the message that sends, are you? How about the message that gets sent when opiates are overprescribed in the CVS store, which is right next to the school, right next to the playground? They don't even care that the CVS is there. They walk out with a whole handful of opiates you just got from the pharmacist, pop them right there in the parking lot, put the car in gear. Watch it happen all the time. For the addicts, that's what happens. Because they're jonesing by the time they get to that store. They're sweating. They're sick. They're dope sick. That's what it is. It's the same thing as going through heroin withdrawal, these opiate addicts. And they go up there and they're sweating and they're, give me my prescription. They get their little pills. They go out in the parking lot and they solve their fix right there in the parking lot before they drive away. And chances are they'll sell the rest of those pills on the open market so they can get some cheaper heroin later on. Not kidding you. The excise tax revenues come in addition to local money local governments collect from the regular sales tax charged on marijuana retail sales. Port Orchard Treasurer Alan Martin estimated the city received about $18,200 in sales tax revenue generated by marijuana businesses in the first 6 months of this year. 8 recreational marijuana stores have been licensed in Kitsap. Local shops made nearly $5 million in gross sales from July 2014 to June 2015, according to a state database. And there's a new wave of applicants. More stores are likely on the way. The Liquor and Cannabis Board opening a new application period for marijuana retail licenses in October. That agency receiving nearly 1,000 applications, spokesman Brian Smith said Tuesday. About 40 applications came from Kitsap, according to a database posted by the board. The state is giving top priority to established medical marijuana businesses as it works to bring the state's loosely regulated medical cannabis system in line with the tightly controlled recreational system. The Cannabis Patient Protection Act passed this year will force medical marijuana dispensaries to close by July 2016, but provides an opportunity for those outlets to become recreational marijuana retailers. The Liquor and Cannabis Board is giving special consideration to medical marijuana businesses that applied for a recreational retail license before July 1st of 2014, have been in the business since before 2013, obtained appropriate business licenses and paid taxes. Smith said fewer than 20 of the new retail applicants statewide had met those standards as of Tuesday. Medical marijuana businesses must meet the same location requirements of recreational retailers to become licensed. This means their stores can't be within a 1,000-foot buffer zone established around schools, parks, and some public gathering places. Smith said the total number of retail licenses issued will depend on the results of a consultant study. The report's due by the end of November. While pushing medical marijuana businesses to close or join the recreational system, the Cannabis Patient Protection Act also created an endorsement that will allow recreational retailers to sell medicinal marijuana to qualified patients. Smith said 137 of the state's 214 licensed retailers have applied for the endorsement. All 8 Kitsap stores applied, according to the board's database. And if you want information, it says on marijuana rules, go to lcb.wa.gov. lcb.wa.gov. So, I mean, that's I suppose, if you understand, there's some good and some bad. Anytime you've got an emerging marketplace or a changing marketplace, there's going to be winners and losers. There's going to be some people that suffer pain, and there's going to be some people who are elated by benefit. It's just the nature of that game. And you can't make everything legal without some of that's change. When you make changes, people pay prices. Some of them pay prices, some of them collect them. It's just the way it goes. It's how winners and losers in business get done. However, the question is the rules. Are the rules around establishing who wins and loses in these games, or guides winners and losers in these games, are they fair? That's the question at hand. In the long run, I say if you're getting marijuana in Washington State and you're not going to prison and you're paying a decent price and the black market is going away, they're doing a good thing in Washington State.
You're getting the full melt.
Young students are our future. They're eager to learn, eager to succeed, eager to make the world a better place. And they want to make it to school safely. Share the road, take care when passing, and always leave 3 feet between you and people on bikes. Bikes are legal road vehicles. We're all drivers.
Imagine a world where patients can use marijuana like any other medicine. The Marijuana Patients Organization challenges the status quo by helping our neighbors to enjoy a better quality of life. Visit the MPO at marijuanapatients.org and enjoy informative articles, engaging debates, and information about treatments, doctors, and dispensaries in your area. Over 50,000 people have registered at marijuanapatients.org since 2010. Join us at the Marijuana Patients Organization today, marijuanapatients.org.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit petpain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. Petpain.com. CBD relief for your pets.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Radio show.
Oh, man, I can't let this song go on too long. If this song goes on too long, the people that own the rights to it will get pissed and block me off the YouTube. I got to dump it out. We can't just let it go on. It's too long. I got to dump it out. I just don't want to edit it back out of the YouTube. It drives me crazy. I actually had to edit that song out of YouTube. I think it was that song. Might have been a different one. I don't know. I know it was in that segment, but it's not the same song. We mix up the bumper music, as it were. Got to give a shout out to my buddy Rick Thompson. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Rick Thompson. He's a big cannabis activist. He's been a part of this program for a while. Still is on occasion. We have a chance to talk to him. He happens to be hanging out, getting a nice steak and some bread pudding on his birthday with some of our other cannabis activist friends. So I'm so happy he had a chance to sit down. It looks like he had a nice porterhouse looking at that picture. I mean, holy cow. Now I'm a little green with envy, so to speak. So what else is going on? Lots of stuff. Where am I at? I lost my place here. Let me regain control. I know that there's this thing about the Menominee tribes filing a lawsuit against the DEA over hemp being raided on their land. I'll give you a C play. Let's see. Is it going to make us play the commercial? I know it is. Oh, maybe not. Here we go. Oh, it is. No. See, it is. They're going to make us play this stupid commercial. Shut it off. I can't stand it. It's a bunch of stuff that nobody cares about. It's all local. Nobody cares. Okay, here we go.
Well, less than a month after its land was raided, the Menominee Indian tribe says it's filing a lawsuit against the DEA and the Justice Department.
The tribe wants to clarify whether it's legal for it to grow industrial hemp on its reservation, which the tribe considers to be equal to a state. Tonight, Fox 11's Ben Krumholtz has balanced news coverage.
Still upset about a federal raid last month, the Menominee Indian tribe wants federal court to decide whether it can legally grow industrial hemp.
We still stand firm on that belief that, yes, we fit the guidelines.
The guidelines BSAW is talking about are those in the 2014 Farm Bill. BSAW says the bill allows his tribe to team with the College of Menominee Nation to grow and research industrial hemp.
It fits within our ethics and our values.
The DEA has said the tribe wasn't growing industrial hemp. After the October raid, the DEA reported it confiscated 30,000 high-grade marijuana plants. The difference between marijuana and industrial hemp is THC level. Industrial hemp has a lower level, preventing anyone from getting a high from it. It's used in things like clothes and building materials.
We would like to see how good of an impact we can have on our economy here.
The tribe's lawsuit would only clarify whether it is legal for it to grow hemp. In an email, a DEA spokesperson told Fox 11, as a matter of policy, the DEA does not comment on active litigation. While the lawsuit says the court can address any appropriate relief, the tribe does not specifically ask for financial compensation for the raid.
And depending on the determination, and we think it will be positive, then we'll judge that. We'll weigh it from there.
The tribe hopes to have a decision by spring in hopes of possibly starting another hemp crop. In Kashina, Ben Krumholtz, Fox 11 News.
The federal agency...
Wait a minute. So wait a minute.
...have not commented at the...
Yeah, okay, sorry. The federal agency hasn't commented because, it's under litigation. They're getting sued. They can't say anything. That's the deal there. Are we painting the picture here? Are you getting the real picture here? Are you understanding when you talk about President Obama revoking military gear? Because, not only does it make you look bad, but it also gives you the wrong mindset. You're not at war. You're not. You're here to protect and defend civilians against criminals. Protect and serve. That's what your badge says, even though the Supreme Court ruled that you don't have to do either. You bastards. I'll say it again, you bastards. Hey, look, I'll call him like I see him. You don't like it? Guess what? Exercise your civil rights. Exercise your First Amendment rights. Go start your own radio show and, talk about how the police need to do. Go defending any of these things I'm pointing at you about. I'm ashamed of our police. I used to love them. I used to love our community policemen who would come around and talk to you and be concerned about what you got going on in your life. Oh, you're doing a nice job with the gardening there, Mr. Green. It looks like you got some new rose bushes this year. How's the dog doing? Is your friend okay? I remember he was having a problem. Is he all right? You see, that's what I expect out of a community policeman. They don't even have such a thing anymore. I don't see community policemen walking around their neighborhoods shaking the hands of the local residents. And then when you take away a requirement for police to live in the communities that they police, now you've built up an us versus them mentality, haven't you? Oh, I've got to go into that bad place and do the policing. This is the area, the zone where I crack skulls. I go back home to a place where my skull doesn't get cracked. You've got no investment in the community that way. You don't know the people you're acting upon. Maybe if you had some of this community policing happening, like it used to, before the drug war, quote unquote, before you were busy loading up on zip ties and closing all the clasps that hold together your gear so that you can go out and bust heads. And it seems to me that you're more interested in busting heads than you are in enforcing law. And then you want to hold out your own safety. It's, I got to go home at night. That guy was handcuffed. He spit at me. I had to shoot him. You get what you deserve, Mr. Policeman. And you can cry and whine and lobby the government all you want for extra money. But if you abuse it when you get it, you get what you deserve. Just as a reminder for some court support, all of my friends here in Michigan, if you remember the clinical relief, or is it clinical relief? Yeah. The clinical relief case there in Ferndale. That case is going to trial on Monday at 1:30 in the afternoon. Monday at 1:30 in the afternoon at the Oakland County Courthouse. And so I would ask that you show up there and support the people who are on trial there. Because it's going to happen. It's going forward. And I just say, because I know one of the attorneys on this, and he is going to rip Jessica Cooper, the prosecutor of Oakland County, a new one. At least he's going to get, I'm sure, this handled. Affirmative defense, there's a pathway now. So go there, help support. If you're part of the court support or, the THC Foundation, please go to the Oakland County Courthouse on Monday at 1:30. Dress nicely, be appropriate, show your support for our friends. There are a lot of people that this happens to around the state and around the country every single day. Some of them are deserved. I mean, some of these situations are people who are clearly just abusing what they had. Others are truly trying to do what the act intended, which is to help patients, sick people, people who have found no other alternative that works except this. It's what it's for them. And they're the ones that are going to get brushed under the table when retail hits anyways. They're going to get shoved aside by the big money of retail. It doesn't matter that you paraded them before the state legislature to argue for medical marijuana. Oh, look at all these people in canes and crutches and wheelchairs, walkers. Look at how sick they are. They need this medicine because this is all their last choice. But then when the retail comes along, oh, forget about those guys. Who are those guys? The patients, who are those? We're too busy, defocused by that big money pie. It's always about the money. I'll repeat. Follow the money. All right, I'll step aside. Tomorrow, hopefully, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but the deer hunting season is still open. Maybe we can squeeze in a Butters update with Joe Brown from the Michigan Hemp Company. Butters the goat, trying to figure out what's going on.
The Full Melt Show is a production of TFM Media.